The rain over Surrey drummed against the white glass panels of the Harrington estate, a low, rhythmic pulse that had become the mansion's only heartbeat since tragedy struck 8 months ago. Inside, Edward Harrington, once a name whispered across London's construction boardrooms, sat in the half-light of his oak-panelled study. His hand rested around a glass of aged scotch, untouched for months. The amber liquid trembled, reflecting the dull gleam of the fireplace. He had stopped drinking the night Clara died, yet tonight the silence was unbearable. Then he heard it, a sound so out of place that it made his pulse stop, a laugh, bright, small, and impossibly pure. Edward froze. The glass slipped from his hand, shattering across the marble. The laugh came again. His son's. For the first time in 8 months, Oliver, barely 1 year old, was laughing. He stumbled through the corridor, heart hammering. And there, in the middle of the grand hall, stood a young woman, drenched from the rain, her auburn hair clinging to her face. In her arms, Oliver giggled, clutching a silver butterfly pendant hanging from her neck. I'm sorry, she stammered. I think there's been a mistake. The agency sent me here, but I was applying for a teaching post, not childcare. Edward didn't answer. He could only stare at his son, laughing, reaching, alive. What's your name? Amelia Carter, she said softly. Miss Carter, how much do you want? She blinked. What? I'll pay you triple. No, 5 times whatever the agency offers. Just stay. Sir, that's absurd. I don't know the first thing about babies. 12 nannies in 3 months, he said through clenched teeth. None lasted a week. Oliver cries until he collapses. Until now. The housekeeper, Mrs. Collins, had appeared by the doorway, broom in hand, staring at the scene as if seeing a ghost. In 15 years, sir, she whispered. I've never heard him this quiet. Edward turned back to Amelia. You've been here 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And he's at peace. Amelia shifted uneasily, trying to hand Oliver back, but the child clung to her, his small fists tightening around her dress. When she moved, he whimpered, eyes brimming. Please, Edward said. The words sounded foreign in his mouth. Just for an hour. Half an hour even. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it, but he noticed the change in her face. My mother, she murmured. She's in hospital, St. George's. I need a job, any job, but I can't pretend I know how to care for a child. Then you already know what matters, Edward said quietly. Oliver reached up and placed his hand on her cheek. For a second, something shifted in her expression, a warmth she had buried long ago. Edward reached for his checkbook, £5,000 a month, flexible hours so you can visit her. Take it. That's 3 months' salary at once. That's the price of hearing my son laugh. The storm roared outside, as if trying to bear witness. Amelia held the baby closer, her breath trembling. There was no way she could know that by stepping into this house, by answering the wrong listing. She had just changed the fate of every soul inside. Mrs. Collins led Amelia through the long corridors of the Harrington estate, once full of laughter, now filled with silence. The scent of furniture polish and rain-soaked air lingered. 12 nannies, Mrs. Collins muttered, and none lasted more than a week. The boy just screamed day and night. Amelia rocked Oliver lightly in her arms. His tiny hand still gripped her pendant. A small silver butterfly, the last thing she owned from her late brother. The nursery door creaked open. The room was immaculate, beautiful, but lifeless. Toys untouched. A cradle too perfect to be real. The walls carried the weight of grief. Mr. Harrington had all photos of his wife removed, Mrs. Collins whispered. Said it hurt too much. Oliver whimpered. Amelia instinctively adjusted his posture, tilting him gently. His back arched, his breathing uneven. Reflux, she murmured. He arches after feeding, turns his head to one side. It's classic. Mrs. Collins blinked. You sound like a doctor. No, Amelia said softly. Just someone who's seen it before. The door swung open. Edward entered, holding a contract. Before we continue, sign this, he said sharply. She looked down. Pages of rules, restrictions, and one line that froze her. The employee shall not form an emotional attachment beyond professional necessity. How can anyone care for a child without affection? She whispered. With discipline, Edward replied coldly. Affection destroys when it disappears. Her phone buzzed again. She answered. Yes, this is Amelia Carter. St. George's? She needs the new treatment now? But I understand. She turned pale. My mother, she said. She's critical. I have to go. It's only 5 o'clock, Edward replied. Your shift ends at 6. My mother may not live another hour. Their eyes met. Two strangers bound by grief they didn't yet recognize. Take the car, Edward said finally. And the baby. He cries if left alone. Mrs. Collins will accompany you. Amelia hesitated, but when Oliver's small fingers clung tighter to her dress, she understood there was no choice. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and sorrow. Amelia entered her mother's room, still holding Oliver. Did you get the job? Her mother, Margaret Carter, asked weakly. Yes, Amelia whispered, forcing a smile. And look, this is Oliver. The old woman smiled faintly. A beautiful boy. He misses his mother. I can see it in his eyes. When she said those words, something in Amelia cracked. Margaret brushed her daughter's hand. Be careful, my dear. Don't love a child you cannot keep. Later that night, as rain streaked the windows of the hospital car park, Amelia watched Oliver sleep peacefully against her chest. The first peaceful sleep he'd had in months. Back at the estate, Edward sat alone, staring at an old photograph of Clara, radiant, pregnant, alive. Today would have been her birthday, he murmured. Oliver was born the same day she died. Amelia appeared at the doorway, Oliver still asleep in her arms. Would you like to hold him? She asked gently. He shook his head. He cries when I touch him. He hates me. Babies don't hate, Mr. Harrington, she said quietly. They only mirror what they feel. He hesitated, then reached out. Oliver looked up curious and touched his father's face. No tears, just calm. For the first time since Clara's death, Edward Harrington held his son without fear. Stay, he whispered, not as an order, as hope. 3 days passed. The air in the mansion changed. Curtains opened, light returned. Oliver laughed again, and even the staff smiled when he did. Edward began working from home. He started having breakfast with Oliver, reading reports from the nursery floor instead of the boardroom. When the doctor visited, he looked astonished. Remarkable improvement, said Dr. Henley. The reflux is severe but manageable. I'm surprised none of the previous physicians caught it. They were looking for psychological causes, Edward replied, glancing at Amelia. Pain can be physical too, she said softly. Then Oliver pointed at her and gurgled, Mama. The room froze. Edward's expression darkened. Leave, he said. Now. Please, he doesn't know what it means, Amelia pleaded. Leave, he shouted. And Oliver burst into tears. Amelia clutched the child protectively. You're frightening him! You've taken my wife's place. Edward's voice broke. She never heard him say that word. and now he says it to you. I didn't want him to love me, she whispered, shaking. But he did. And I couldn't stop myself. They stared at each other. Two wounded souls, each terrified of love. Later that night, Edward found her packing. My son had reflux too, she confessed quietly. His name was Michael. He died 2 years ago. An accident. For a long moment, neither spoke. Edward sat beside her. My wife died giving birth. I wasn't even there. I was signing contracts while she begged for me. Their eyes met, the silence between them heavier than words. I can't be Oliver's mother, Amelia said, but I can love him while I'm here. Edward's voice trembled. That's enough. Maybe love doesn't need forever, just honesty. Oliver stirred in his crib, smiling in his sleep. Between their two hands, his tiny fingers rested, a bridge between griefs. Cliffhanger. But grief doesn't stay quiet forever, especially when outsiders come knocking. Part 6. When winter brought visitors, snow fell over Surrey as Edward's mother arrived. Lady Harrington, sharp as her pearls, colder than the wind. So you're the new nanny, she said, eyeing Amelia like a stain. Amelia Carter, ma'am. He calls you Mama, does he not? Babies say that to many women, Edward interjected. Do not treat me like a fool, his mother snapped. She scanned the house, noticing missing portraits. Where are Clara's photographs? Put away, Edward said quietly. It still hurts. Lady Harrington turned to Amelia. And where do you live? With my mother, ma'am. Good. I'll be staying. I wish to see what truly goes on here. From that day the house turned hostile. Every glance was a test, every meal a silent battle. When Dr. Henley returned for a check-up, he smiled. Miss Carter was right. The change in medication saved the boy. Edward looked proudly at her. You hear that, mother? Lady Harrington's face remained frozen. That night, Amelia overheard her on the phone. Find everything about her, Lady Harrington whispered. Her past, her family, her tragedies, such women always hide something. Amelia's heart sank. She knew what was coming. The morning of Oliver's birthday arrived with sunlight and dread. Amelia had baked the cake herself, a blue elephant, chocolate ears, Oliver's favorite. The boy squealed, calling Mama, while guests clapped. Even Edward laughed. For a moment they looked like a real family, but in Edward's study a letter lay waiting. Dear Mr. Harrington, for the sake of your son and in memory of your wife, I will leave after the party. Oliver needs stability, not scandal. Amelia Carter. When the last guest left, she kissed Oliver's forehead. I'll always love you, she whispered, but I have to go. Downstairs, Edward held the letter. What is this? My decision, she said. Your mother is right. I don't belong here. He gripped her shoulders. You're wrong. You belong where my son smiles. Oliver's cry shattered the silence. Mama! They rushed upstairs. He stood in his crib, arms outstretched, tears streaming. Amelia held him close. Edward wrapped his arms around them both. See, he whispered. He needs you. I need you. From the doorway came Lady Harrington's icy voice. What in God's name is this? Edward turned. What was always inevitable, she stays, if necessary, over my dead body. She's not my employee. She's the woman I love. Silence. Even Oliver stopped crying. 2 years later, the Harrington estate bloomed with life. Maria, no, Amelia Harrington, sat at the piano, heavily pregnant, while Oliver tapped a toy xylophone beside her. Look, Mama, like you. Beautiful, my darling, she smiled. Edward entered with lemonade, kissed her forehead. "How are my little princesses kicking?" "Like footballers," she laughed. "So like their father." Photos now lined the walls. Clara and Oliver, Roberto and Michael, her brother and their wedding under the oak tree behind the house. Even Lady Harrington was there, holding Oliver's hand, softer now, human. And in the kitchen, Margaret Carter laughed, healthy again. That night, as Edward tucked Oliver into bed, the boy asked, "Mama, tell me how you came here." She smiled. "It was raining, sweetheart. I came to the wrong door and found everything I'd lost." "The baby was me," Oliver giggled sleepily. "Yes, it was you. I knew you were my mama the moment I saw you." She looked at Edward standing in the doorway. Their eyes met. Silent gratitude, quiet love, the kind that rebuilds what life once broke. Because love, they had learned, doesn't die with loss. It transforms and gives life again.